This is what the original MYSLF should have been all along. So let's review MYSLF Le Parfum. Hey, what's good guys? Hunter here and welcome back to the channel where I upload weekly fragrance content, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below so you miss any future videos, and be sure to follow me over on my Instagram page. But today, we are reviewing the first flanker from MYSLF, and if you caught my review of the original, I honestly was not the biggest fan of it, didn't give it the best review, but thankfully, the Le Parfum actually takes it a whole step further, guys, and is a much better take on the DNA. And we'll talk about why that is a little bit later on in the review, but first, I do want to shout out YSL for sending this one out for review. Of course, that's not going to change my opinions, guys. Like I said earlier, I also did receive the original myself and gave it a bad review, so if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't, and I'll always be honest with you. So let's go with some information now. MYSLF Le Parfum was launched in 2024. Like I said, it is the newer flanker. The original, I think, came out in 2023, so I'm probably assuming they're gonna launch a elixir in 2025. That would not surprise me at all. Or some kind of other flanker to this kind of family of Yves Saint Laurent fragrances, because that's usually what they do. The retail price for the 3 sizes you can get this one in is 40 ml, like I have in hand, for $108, the 60 ml for $155, and then the 100 ml for $185, so it is a pretty expensive guy. But of course, you kind of expect that being a Le Parfum flanker. Honestly, wish I kind of had a bigger bottle, but still the 40 ml is probably gonna last me a very, very long time. The concentration is obviously an extrait de parfum, so you are getting a very concentrated fragrance with this particular one, and that's also why it is kind of expensive. For the perfumers, there's actually 3 perfumers that went behind the Le Parfum. The first is Antoine Maison-Dew, Christopher Renaud, and Daniela Andrier, which are all 3 fantastic noses in the game and have a huge resume. All the information out of the way, let's look at the packaging and presentation you get with MYSLF Le Parfum now. All right, take a look at the box, which is your typical kind of Yves Saint Laurent and designer box. This one is finished in this kind of black/matte finish, which looks great. MYSLF YSL Le Parfum. 40 ml bottle, like I said. On the bottom, you do find your batch code to authenticate your product to see when it was produced. On the side, you have MYSLF as well, which is kind of cool looking. And then on the back, your barcode, as well as some information and ingredients, and YSL on the top. Let's look at the bottle now. So take a look at the bottle, which this one in particular is in a matte finish compared to the glossy finish from the OG MYSLF, which I prefer the look of this one with YSL on the front. Le Parfum, on the bottom, you will find your batch code as well on that sticker. Nothing on the back. On top, YSL. Inside the cap, you have YSL, and then nothing on the atomizer. And it does click into place very securely. In the top, you have black pepper. In the mid, you have orange blossom. And in the base, you have bourbon, vanilla, amber, woody notes, and patchouli, and this will be classified as a sweet floral. So let's spray this and test out these atomizers. Decent atomizer, even though it's not really pressurized, it still does shoot out a lot of juice. So let's go ahead and remind myself of MYSLF Le Parfum now. So right away, this opening is going to be much spicier compared to the original, because you're going to get a burst of the spicy black pepper immediately. Kind of substitute the bright bergamot you found in the original. There's not much citruses, not much brightness going on in the Le Parfum, just very spicy, which I honestly prefer so much more, guys. I just think it's a much better opening compared to the original. Especially if you like spicy, peppery fragrances, you're gonna enjoy the opening of this one. Once you're making your way into the mid is where you're gonna get that signature orange blossom, which MYSLF is pretty much known for. It's the most dominant note in this kind of line. However, though, the orange blossom from the original absolutely killed that fragrance for me, and I talked about that in that review, guys. I just could not get past the powderiness that came from that note. Thankfully, though, the powderiness is toned down quite a bit with the orange blossom in here, and more so goes in this floral, kind of clean, drier sheet direction, even though the original had that as well. It's just a little bit more powdery when it came to that. So if you were also like me and just hated how powdery that fragrance smelled, do yourself a favor and check out MYSLF Le Parfum, because it just does a little bit of a twist on that particular note, and I think it's done much better. But still, without a doubt, carries that MYSLF DNA through and through in the Le Parfum. Like, you could totally tell this is a true flanker of it. Now, making our way into the base of Le Parfum is by far my favorite part of the entire fragrance, because you will find this very spicy, warm, creamy bourbon vanilla, guys. And bourbon vanilla Doesn't mean it's gonna be boozy or anything like that. It's kind of a different take on vanilla. Just very warm and comforting, especially when it's combined with that warm resinous amber note. I just think vanilla, amber go perfectly together, and you're gonna get a good dose of both of those in the dry down. Mixed together with that patchouli, it's basically the same patchouli you found from the EVP myself, just a clean kind of green patchouli that isn't too earthy. Just has a ton more character from the top, mid, and base in the Le Parfum compared to the original. And how I would describe it, guys, is kind of like a spicier take on myself, minus the powderiness you found in that one, with some vanilla and amber. Because I believe in the base of the original, you just had that clean kind of green patchouli, which is still the same with this one. Alongside, I believe that amber fix note, which is a little bit woody, ambery, etc. But this one just goes far more into the spicy, creamy, warm, comforting, ambery base, which I'm all for, guys. Like I said in the intro, this is what the original should have been all along. And as you can see right behind me, I do have a 100 ml bottle of the original myself, but I'm probably not ever really going to wear that, especially now since I have this. Because anytime I really want that clean, dryer sheet, fresh vibe, which myself gives off, this is just a better take on it. So for the best seasons to rock the Le Parfum, I think this is a very versatile fragrance, guys, more so than the original as well, just because it still has the bright floral aspect about it, which obviously works in the spring and summer, but this one just has a little bit more of a deeper character to it, which works for like the fall and winter. So if you're somebody that wore the original myself as a signature scent, which I think this is pretty much great for both of them actually, but if you thought the original didn't really suit the colder weather, which I don't really think it does that much, then actually get your nose on the Le Parfum because it suits all 4 seasons easily. For occasion, it's also extremely casual, the kind of fragrance you can wear on whenever you want and just get away with it without any second thoughts, without any hesitation, etc. Guys, this fragrance just works. When you're dressing down in like shorts, jeans, maybe some sweatpants, even a hoodie, a t-shirt, this fragrance works. If you're dressing up in a more formal attire, going to a nice event, etc., if you gotta wear a suit, a button-up, a tuxedo even, this fragrance works. It just works for any occasion, especially if you just want to smell clean, fresh, and professional. Probably one of the best signature scents for that. And also just an all-around great office fragrance. So if you're somebody that works in an office, you dress up regularly, you're close with people around you, like in close quarters where they're gonna smell you, this is probably one of the best options you could buy if you just go into like your Macy's, etc. If you want something suited for that kind of environment, this is something I would recommend probably 10 out of 10 times. But then even after you're done working at the office, you go home, maybe get changed, reapply this one and go out to like a nice dinner date in the evening, this works as well. Because it is much sexier than the original. There was nothing sexy about the original myself, like at all. It was just completely fresh and clean. This one though is fresh, clean, and spicy, which definitely amps up the sexiness. Now for gender, I think when I reviewed the original myself, I thought of that fragrance as a complete unisex fragrance. I don't even know why it's targeted towards men's, to be honest with you. It's very, very much unisex. It kind of actually reminds me a little bit of Libre, which I have right here, both Libre Original and Libre Intense. However, the Le Parfum is still unisex, but more so leaning on the masculine side compared to the EDP. So it's a slightly more masculine take on myself just because of the woody notes, the patchouli, the amber, of course, that spicy vanilla. And we can't forget about that spicy black pepper in the opening, which does bring out the masculine side of things. If you were somebody that thought maybe the original was a little bit too feminine, you were kind of cautious of wearing it, etc., you still kind of did enjoy the DNA, check out Le Parfum because it kind of actually fixes that problem. So when it comes to age groups, I also think it is kind of versatile when it comes to that because I can picture somebody maybe a little bit younger, but even though they are a little younger, they kind of have more of a mature mindset about them, maybe a little bit more professional because it's not necessarily a youthful smelling fragrance. There's nothing sweet, outgoing, or playful about it, but still does give me young vibes as well as mature, older vibes too because like I said, it smells very classy, very professional. There's nothing sweet or playful about it, which does target the more older audience. It just kind of gives me the vibe of like a young entrepreneur getting his life together, figuring things out, has that kind of mature, motivated mindset about him. Everybody knows when he walks in the room who it is. He just has that presence. That's the kind of vibe MYSLF Le Parfum gives off, guys. A very professional, classy vibe that suits a guy that has a direction for his life and knows where he's going. So wrap the review off talking on the performance you should expect from the Le Parfum. Now, I did get slightly better performance with this one compared to the EDP, but that's what you kind of expect. With this, however, I did get about 10 hours of solid longevity on my skin, which was about 2 hours more compared to the EDP, which I got maybe around 8 hours. So a slight bump up and improvement with this one, at least with the longevity side of things, which is always a good welcome, even though with most extrait de parfums, I kind of have an expectation that they're gonna last around 12 hours. That's usually my benchmark for it, but like I said, guys, I could picture YSL Le Parfum coming out with an elixir version of this very soon, which will probably get that 12 hours and up mark, but still above average when it comes to longevity. Now with the projection, it was about moderate projection, which means it's not going to be an intimate, close scent bubble fragrance, but it's also not really going to be a beast mode room filling projector either. Moderate just means when you walk around close to somebody, they will smell you. You're sitting next to somebody like in an office, like a kind of like a cubicle, etc. They will smell you on both sides. So it's not really a skin scent where somebody has to like come up to you like this and smell your fragrance. They will detect it, but it's not gonna be a room filler where if you're sitting at a cubicle, 10 cubicles over, they're gonna smell you. It's nothing like that. Which could be a good thing, especially for the kind of environment this fragrance is kind of suited for. So no complaints at all. And if you were somebody that wanted better performance from the EDP, get this one because it definitely amps it up a little bit. That's gonna do it for my review of YSL Le Parfum MYSLF Le Parfum. Let me know down below if you guys have tried the original, what were your thoughts, and if you tried the Le Parfum, which one do you guys prefer? Because I'm kind of curious if you guys agree with me on everything I said in this review. So let's discuss it in the comments down below. But besides that, leave a like, subscribe below if you haven't already, and of course, I'll catch all of you back here in my next upload. Take care, everybody.